Okay, time for maiden flight. Before we start, let's review the transmitter details a little bit. Okay, so this transmitter is very kind of different, toy-like, very similar to what Yuzhang had for the F-03 helicopter, if you remember that one. It's actually here. This is the F-03 helicopter that was built by Yuzhang and sold at Motion RC and other outlets. So I think it's the same protocol. We can test this later. But this helicopter is not marketed as Yuzhang. It's marketed no name Z1. But for those who have been in this space, they can realize the way something is built tells you a lot about where it's coming from, including this controller, including some of the packaging and the methods that they've used. So I think it's a Yuzhang product, but probably marketed differently. I may be corrected later, but that's my guess right now. But anyhow, it is a nice looking helicopter. It's a Bell 206. I did the unboxing a little earlier. So more about the controller. Okay, so this controller has 3 modes, rates, which you can control by this button here. It's an indoor flight mode, which is probably the least aggressive. Then it has 2 other modes after that, modes 2 and 3, which is recommended for outdoor flying. And all that means is that it gets more pitch control and more aggressive behavior to fight the wind. Oh, by the way, wind, this is supposed to be flying in suitable for wind speeds below 5 meters per second. 5 meters per second is around 11 miles per hour. So as long as you're below 11 mile per hour gusts, you should be fine. So back to the controller again. So then this has an optical flow sensor, and the optical flow sensor is this thing here. It's a tiny camera. When you first turn the helicopter on, the optical flow sensor is on by default. You could turn it on and off using this switch here. The way you know that it's off is when these lights start flashing. But when they're solid, it's on. Okay, so these are the trims for roll trims, and then your pitch trims, just like any other controller. There's an emergency stop button, and that is by pressing both of these buttons at the same time. That's the emergency stop. It has auto takeoff and landing, and that's happening with the press of this button. Press once, it takes off. Second, it lands. Okay, so enough of that. Very simple. So let's go ahead and put the battery in. Before I do that, you could see that it's very similar to some of the earlier XK model helicopters, namely the XK-123 and XK-K-123 and XK-K-124, where they had their batteries fitting in here. Okay, it's got a nice cushion behind the battery, so you can see it kind of is soft. It has a gear and brushed main motor and a brushed tail motor. The tail motor location is here, which is not very scale, but I think it's probably because they didn't want to have, they wanted flow of air, better flow of air probably. They put it there. All right, so let's put this in. Turn the radio on always first, and then fire her up. Okay, just like the RCERA helicopters. It's blinking. So what we need to do is bind. The way you bind it is you go up and down, and it's now solid. It's recommended to calibrate once, and again, just like the other helicopters, the calibration is done by going left. The light beeps and goes solid, so it's calibrated. To initiate for takeoff, you pull these back like this, and it should start the helicopter. There you go. And then if you turn it, do it again, it stops it. Hold it and it stops it. On, and then you hold it, it stops it. So I'm gonna not take off from glass because I'm not sure if the optical flow sensor likes glass. We're gonna take off from here. And let's see. By the way, while I'm talking about that, see, you can see the optical flow sensor right now is on. If I press this button, it starts beeping, it's off. On, off. So let's fly up from the glass without the optical sensor. Taking off. Woo! Nice. Okay, so I don't have the optical sensor on now. Just gonna fly her. It's on the mode 1, so it doesn't have much pitch. I'm gonna go to mode 2, mode 3. And I'm gonna turn the optical sensor back on. It's on now. Okay, so it's relatively steady. I'm just showing you the controller. Helicopter, I'll bring her closer. A little shaky, not sure why, but that's okay. Nice, stable. Definitely not as stable as my other helicopters recently from RCRA, like the C-123 or the C-190. Going like this. Let's see how she flies in circles. It's my favorite test. I hope she's in the frame. This is optical flow on. So I'm going to turn off optical flow, see how she behaves. It's off, it's flashing. Oh, definitely not as smooth as my RCERA helicopters. Might be the controller, but definitely not as smooth. I mean, if you turn on the optical flow, the problem here is the resolution. I think it's either fully on or not. The servos might not be as smooth as other servos, or the controller. I'm not sure. It's a combination. And see, it's very robotic without this. Very robotic, the pitch. I'm going to turn it back on. Optical flows back on. You could see immediately that it's more stable. Anyhow, it's supposed to fly 15 minutes. But I'm not going to fly her 15 minutes. You can see the basic performance and capabilities right here. Not going to do any 3D with this for sure. So let's land. I'm going to test the landing button. Bring her here. Press once and land. Okay. Let's try to take off. Take off on its own. Okay. And that's good.